She accused me of cheating without evidence. And somehow I still felt guilty. It started with a laugh, hers too sharp, too bitter. Then came the accusation. No proof. No signs. Just a cold glare across our kitchen table. I remember stammering, trying to understand. Was this a joke? Some test? She turned away before I could answer, her shoulders stiff, retreating upstairs. I stared after her, a hollow ache blooming in my chest. If she thought I was lying, what did that mean about her? The thought clung to me like the damp chill of a winter night, soaking through every layer of rationality I tried to wrap around myself. Claire had always been quick to trust, or at least, that's what I believed. We were partners. We were supposed to be safe. But that night, as her footsteps faded and the bedroom door clicked shut, something shifted, a tiny, imperceptible crack in the floorboards of our marriage. One I hadn't noticed until it creaked under the weight of her accusation. I sat there long after the house had gone silent, the untouched dinner congealing on our plates. The kitchen light buzzed softly, the only witness to my confusion. I could still hear her laugh, not the melodic, warm one she used to share with me, but a sharper sound, almost mechanical. I kept replaying it, over and over. Her eyes. Her voice. The way she didn't wait for an answer. If I wasn't guilty, then why did I feel like I was? Why did it feel like I was defending myself in a courtroom where she had already handed down the sentence? Maybe it wasn't about me at all. Maybe it never was. I ran my hands through my hair, trying to find solid ground. Trust wasn't supposed to need evidence. Love wasn't supposed to feel like cross-examination. A sick part of me wondered, was this projection? Had she done something? Was she accusing me to justify some invisible crime of her own? I hated that my mind even went there. Hated that after years of building a life together, birthdays, road trips, Sunday mornings tangled in each other's arms, doubt could sprout so easily in the cracks. I tried to tell myself it was just a fight. People lash out when they're scared. She was stressed, overworked, tired. It didn't have to mean anything. But when I climbed the stairs that night, each step heavier than the last, I noticed something. Her wedding ring was sitting on the bathroom sink. She always slept with it on. I stood there, staring at that small circle of gold, feeling something hollow open wide in my chest. It was such a small thing. So easy to explain. Yet it felt monumental, a thunderclap you don't hear until after the sky splits open. In that moment, the first doubt wasn't a whisper. It was a scream. And deep down, I already knew. This was only the beginning. Late calls. Locked doors. A smell on her pillow that didn't belong to me. Nights grew longer after that. She'd step outside to take calls, muttering something about work emergencies. The first few times I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I sat on the couch, pretending to be engrossed in some mindless show, pretending not to watch the glow of her phone through the thin curtains, her silhouette hunched and tense. The words were always too low to hear. But the laughter, that was clear enough. Soft, careful laughter. The kind she used to save just for me. One evening, as I smoothed her side of the bed, the scent hit me, a rich, musky cologne. Not hers. Not mine. It was faint, just a thread in the air, but undeniable, the way smoke clings to clothes long after the fire's out. I froze, my hands still pressing into the sheets, heart thudding like a drum against hollow walls. I told myself it was nothing, a handshake, a hug from a coworker, maybe. Something innocent. But even the photo of us on the dresser was tilted downward, its frame knocked askew like it couldn't bear to look me in the eye. I reached out to straighten it, my fingers brushing against the dusty surface, the glass cool and accusing. When had it gotten like this? When had everything started collecting dust, the photos, the words, the trust? Her side of the closet had new clothes I didn't recognize. A pair of heels still in their box. A jacket that smelled like a department store and something more. She started locking the bathroom door. Started carrying her phone with her even when she just went to get the mail. Little things. Stupid things. Things I could almost explain away if I tried hard enough. But the house felt different. Like it had shifted a few inches to the left, somewhere unfamiliar. Like every doorknob turned heavier under my hand. Like every familiar corner had been rewritten in invisible ink. I stopped sleeping through the night. I'd lie awake, listening to the small sounds, the creak of floorboards, the sigh of pipes searching for patterns in the dust. I found none. Only silence, thick and choking, stretching longer with every night she stayed out late at work and came home wearing a different face. I wanted to ask. God, I wanted to ask. But asking would mean I was ready for the answer. And I wasn't. Not yet. Because if she said it out loud, then it would be real. And I wasn't ready for real. Not yet. Her timelines never quite lined up. Neither did her smile. I started noticing the cracks. They were small at first, like hairline fractures in a frozen lake, almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Dinner dates she forgot to mention. Meetings that ran strangely late. Little lies, dressed up as forgetfulness, slipping past her teeth too easily. She'd walk in tired but not tired, if that makes sense. Her body sagged like she'd had a long day, but her eyes, they held something else. A glint. A nervous shine. Like she was stepping off a stage, hoping no one had noticed the wrong script. Once she said she was at a conference out of town, a full-day workshop with networking and seminars, the kind of thing she usually dreaded. But a friend swore he'd seen her at a bar downtown that same evening, laughing with someone tall, someone familiar. He said it casually, not knowing he was dropping a match into a dry field. I didn't confront her. Couldn't. The words lodged somewhere between my chest and throat, too jagged to force out without bleeding. Instead, I memorized every word she said, storing contradictions like brittle leaves inside me waiting to crumble. It became a habit, almost a ritual. Where were you? Who was there? What time did you leave? I didn't ask out loud. I simply listened. Counted seconds between answers. Cataloged hesitations. Sometimes her smile faltered just a little too early, like a curtain drawn back before the show had properly ended. Other times it stretched too wide, a little desperate, as if she were willing me to believe in a world that didn't exist anymore. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. I wanted to be the man who trusted his wife without reservation, who saw only exhaustion on her face, not guilt. But trust is a fragile thing. Once cracked, it doesn't shatter all at once. It crumbles slow. Quiet. So quiet you almost convince yourself it's not happening at all. Almost. I stopped asking questions. I started watching instead. Something hardened in me. Not all at once. Not like a bone snapping or a dam breaking. More like frost creeping across glass, slow and silent, until one morning you look up and realize you can't see through it anymore. I stopped reaching for her in the mornings. Stopped offering to drive her to work even when it rained, even when I used to love the excuse to steal an extra few minutes with her. Instead, I watched. Quietly. Carefully. I became a collector of moments, gathering them the way a hunter lays traps. Every time she smiled too wide. Every time she jumped when I entered the room, as if caught rehearsing a lie she hadn't finished writing. Every glance at her phone she thought I didn't notice. Every time she angled the screen away, the way you do when you're hiding something ugly. Each moment added to a growing pile of silent evidence inside my chest. A slow, inevitable weight. A second heart thudding cold and heavy against my ribs. Still, I told myself, it's not what it looks like. You're imagining things. Because believing otherwise would mean tearing apart everything we built. The house with its half-painted walls. The dreams folded into boxes under the bed. The anniversaries marked by scratched initials on a kitchen calendar. It would mean admitting that the life we made, the life I thought was solid, was just a sandcastle, beautiful from a distance, dissolving the closer I looked. So I clung to my silence like a raft in a rising sea. I convinced myself that if I just stayed still, if I didn't rock the boat, maybe the cracks would heal themselves. Maybe love, once stretched thin enough to tear, could still find a way to hold. But deep down, some quieter part of me knew. Love can't heal wounds it refuses to see. I asked where she'd been. She said nowhere, with perfume still clinging to her hair. That night, I couldn't stop myself. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. The question slipped out of me like steam escaping a cracked pipe, sudden, inevitable. Where were you? I asked, voice steady, almost detached, like I was reading a line from someone else's script. She blinked too fast, too many times, like her body was scrambling to catch up to her mouth. Nowhere important, she said, tossing her bag onto the couch. The bag hit the cushions with a muted thud, a puff of air carrying the scent of someone else's cologne, richer, sharper, a brand I didn't recognize. It clawed its way into the room, a ghost that didn't belong here. She moved quickly, almost too casually, walking toward the kitchen with forced lightness in her step. But as she turned away, something small tumbled free from the folds of her bag, a tiny glint catching the dull light. A single, gold earring. Not hers. Claire never wore gold. Always silver. Always understated. I knew every piece of jewelry she owned, every clasp and curve and flaw. This one didn't fit her. It didn't fit us. I stared at it lying there on the carpet as if it had fallen straight out of her mouth, a physical lie she couldn't swallow in time. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight it hurt to breathe. She didn't notice. Or pretended not to. She disappeared into the kitchen, humming under her breath, rummaging through the fridge like it was any other night. I stood there, rooted, the silence roaring in my ears. I could have picked it up. I could have held it out to her, forced the confrontation. I could have screamed, demanded the truth I already knew in the hollow of my bones. But I didn't. Silence had become my armor. And my prison. I stepped over the earring, walked past the couch, and climbed the stairs without looking back. Behind me, the gold glinted once, then stilled, a tiny, perfect betrayal shining in the gathering dark. When you can't trust your memories anymore, you go looking for proof you can touch. I stopped sleeping. Not in the way you miss a few hours and feel it in your bones the next day. No, this was different. This was lying still for hours, eyes open, mind racing in loops too fast to catch. Dreams became accusations. Half-formed images of her face, smiling at someone I couldn't see, vanishing before I could call her name. I began marking time, a ritual carved from panic. Noting when she left. When she came back. When her scent was wrong. When her smile felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else and had been carelessly pasted onto her face. The house became a map of her absence. An empty coffee cup. A missed call. A lipstick-stained napkin she swore wasn't hers. I told myself I wasn't spying. I told myself I was just noticing. Collecting tiny truths like a drowning man counting the seconds he can stay afloat. One night, desperate for something, anything real, I crawled under the couch, heart hammering against my ribs. It sounds pathetic now. It felt pathetic then too. But when reality bends enough times, when your memories start folding in on themselves like brittle paper, you start needing something solid. Something that doesn't move when you touch it. If I couldn't trust my instincts, I could at least trust my eyes. Or so I thought. Underneath, the carpet smelled of dust and something sharper, her perfume, clinging low where air doesn't move. There were crumbs from a dinner we hadn't shared, a receipt crumpled so small it might have been trash, if it didn't matter so much. I pulled it out with shaking fingers. 1 wine bar, 2 entrees, a date circled in bright ink, 3 days ago. The night she said she was working late. I sat there in the dark, legs folded awkwardly beneath me, the receipt crinkling between my fingers. Proof. Cold, stupid proof. But instead of relief, all I felt was a sick, sinking hollowness. Because proof doesn't make you sane. It just makes the silence louder. Through a crack in the world, I watched everything break. The floor was cold. My breath shallow. The space under the couch was too small, too tight, but I didn't move. I pressed myself against the hardwood, my cheek scraping dust and old echoes. From beneath the couch, I watched her open the door. Laughing. Laughing like I hadn't heard in months, light, reckless, young. It wasn't the brittle, cautious laughter she gave me at dinner tables and car rides. This was the laughter she saved. The laughter that used to be mine. And then he entered, tall, easy, familiar. A coworker. A family friend. Someone I'd shaken hands with, shared beers with, trusted. Their mouths met without hesitation. No searching, no apology, like they belonged together, like they had done it 1,000 times already. The kiss wasn't urgent. It was casual. Comfortable. The kind of kiss built from late nights and whispered promises. His shoe, black, polished, expensive, stopped inches from my face. I could see the stitching. The faint smear of dirt across the sole. Details burned into my brain with the clarity of a nightmare. I bit down a sob, the sound lodging like a knife in my throat. It rattled inside my chest, furious to escape. I pressed my hand against my mouth, tasting the salt of my own skin. Above me, they moved further into the room, oblivious to the man hidden inches away, clutching silence like a drowning man clutching rocks. The air around me grew thick, heavy, sticky with betrayal. Through a crack in the world, I watched everything break. And the worst part wasn't that she kissed him. The worst part was realizing that she laughed first. The shoe disappeared. So did the last thread of denial I had left. The shoe disappeared. So did the last thread of denial I had left. Above me, they collapsed onto the couch, the same couch where we'd once spent lazy Sundays, tangled in blankets and half-forgotten movies. Now it sagged under the weight of their laughter, their low, slurred words thick with desire and cruelty. My body stayed frozen, pressed against the carpet, every muscle screaming for flight, but chained in place by something heavier than fear. I was invisible. Forgotten. Like an old ghost haunting his own life, doomed to watch but never touch. The family photo on the shelf, the one from our last vacation, her arms around me, my smile already fraying at the edges, wobbled and toppled, landing face down with a soft thud. A mercy, maybe. Above me, she whispered, he doesn't suspect a thing. I don't know if she said it for him or for herself. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe the lie was part of the ritual now, as comfortable and familiar as the couch they desecrated. The words floated down to me, sinking into my skin like needles. He doesn't suspect a thing. But I had. I had suspected everything. I had just been too afraid to call it by its name. The truth settled in my chest like dust after a demolition. Heavy. Inescapable. Permanent. It was over. Had been, long before I saw it. All I had done was survive the fall long enough to finally hit the ground. And somehow, lying there in the dark, I realized the real betrayal wasn't the kiss. Wasn't the lies? It was that she had stopped seeing me at all. Some betrayals are so quiet, they echo forever. I waited until they left. Waited in the dark, muscles locked, heart hollowed out and echoing inside my ribs. Waited until the door clicked shut and their laughter faded into the night like a song I never wanted to hear again. Then I stood up slowly, carefully, like stepping through the wreckage of a bombed city. Every movement felt too loud, like I was disturbing graves. The gold earring still glinted on the rug, a shard of someone else's life lodged in mine. I picked it up and held it between my fingers. So small. So harmless. A tiny thing capable of ending everything. My wedding ring felt heavier than it ever had before. A relic of promises made in languages we no longer spoke. I slid it from my finger, the skin underneath pale and unfamiliar. It wobbled as it hit the hardwood, spinning in lazy, desperate circles before falling flat. The sound it made, that soft, final clink, was louder than any scream. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. There was no grand explosion, no shattering of plates or shouts into the empty air. Just silence. A silence so deep it swallowed even the ghosts of what used to be. I simply walked upstairs. Packed a bag. Folded clothes without thinking about which ones she had bought for me or which ones still smelled faintly of our shared life. I didn't write a note. Didn't leave an accusation behind. There was nothing left to say that hadn't already been spoken in invisible ink across the walls of our home. I closed the door quietly behind me. No slamming. No dramatics. A life had already ended here. I was just the last one to leave the funeral. Some betrayals are so quiet, they echo forever. When you stop chasing answers, you find peace in the silence they leave behind. I didn't leave a note. She didn't deserve one. Whatever words I could have written would have fallen like stones into a well already dry. There was nothing left to explain. Nothing left to save. Driving away, the night swallowed the road ahead, vast, sharp, merciless. The emptiness pressed against me, familiar and foreign all at once. But inside it, something else stirred. Dignity. Freedom. The kind of freedom that doesn't announce itself with fireworks, but hums low and steady in the bones. The kind of dignity that comes from surviving a storm you thought would kill you. No one would ever again tell me who I was or wasn't. No one would rewrite my truth with lies whispered in dark corners. She tore down the house we built with her own hands, brick by brick, lie by lie, until nothing remained but hollow rooms and broken echoes. And I walked away. Not as the man she abandoned. Not as the man she forgot. But as something new. Something forged in silence and sharpened by grief. I would build something new, brick by honest brick, and this time, the foundation would be mine alone. No borrowed promises. No cracked illusions. Just stone. And truth. And the steady, quiet certainty that whatever came next would be mine. I didn't look back. Not because there was nothing worth seeing. But because sometimes the only way to honor the pain that almost destroyed you is to leave it exactly where it tried to keep you.